Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020 might sound like the most boring Microsoft exclusive ever built, but it also might be the most ambitious. This is a game that leverages Microsoft's technology and assets to recreate the Earth in video game form, giving it to you as the player to explore at your will by air. Pick a place, any place on the planet Earth, from the most densely populated to the most remote, and you can visit it in Microsoft Flight Simulator. But not only can you visit it, what you'll find when you get there is a near identical digital representation of that location that's been built with a number of algorithms and different data points. Buildings, trees, roads, rivers, landmarks. Microsoft Flight Simulator takes it all, streams it in via the Azure cloud to build the world that you fly around in. Microsoft Flight Simulator feels like a technological leap. But with that leap requires actual technology on the player's end as well. The best possible experience in the game is one for the player with the best internet connection. The contrary, the worst experience would be the player who is completely offline. While the game is playable across that entire spectrum of online connectivities, the more bandwidth you throw at this game, the prettier and more realistic it will be. So how accurate is it? It is the entire world that's encompassed here, so it's hard to tell exactly, but we took the game for a spin across numerous places that we lived, and it was impressive. Microsoft Flight Simulator is so accurate that you can fly and navigate the world based on just your visual senses. That means this isn't exactly a representation so much as it is a recreation. If you know an area, you can navigate around it using the streets and landmarks that you're familiar with. It's an amazing trick that Microsoft Flight Simulator pulls because it's clearly not a one-to-one recreation of the Earth when you look at it. They didn't include every tree, every blade of grass, accurate rooftops for every building in every nook and cranny of the actual planet. But they've included so many of the smaller details that it can fool you into thinking that they did as you hurtle past them in an airplane. With a mixture of in-game settings that you can switch in terms of the time of day, weather, and more, you could witness anything. You could watch the sun set over the Hawaiian coast, you could fly to the top of Mount Everest, you could venture through the Bermuda Triangle, or visit the most remote, beautiful, or dangerous locations in the world. The choice is yours, and the choices do feel endless at times. As technologically impressive as Microsoft Flight Simulator is on some fronts, there were some other spots that were a little bit more disappointing. The game itself crashed a lot for us. Almost every single session we played resulted in needing to restart at some point. Hopefully, this is an issue that is fixed when the developers have more data, but while the possibilities are endless in terms of where you can go, there's also some limitations in terms of what surrounds the core gameplay. If you're looking for the trappings of other modern video games, you're not going to find them here, or at least not anything too robust. There is a pilot's profile that you maintain, which allows you to rack up flight hours, earn badges, and, of course, achievements. That's really all there is, though, when it comes to challenges, collectibles, or progression. There are live events, which are essentially scenario high-score chases, but there aren't many of them. At least we only saw one through our time with the game. It feels like there's definitely a missed opportunity for more developer-curated content, and perhaps we'll see that in the future. There are some activities here at launch that can send you in the right direction of adventure. These include famous airports that you can visit, dangerous situations such as takeoffs and landings, and other iconic flight situations around the world. Alongside them are also a series of bush trips that require you to fly long distances in remote locations. Other than that, though, you'll need to get creative in terms of what you want to see, where you want to go. There are a good variety in the planes that you can fly, though, so there's plenty to master. But when you come to terms with the controls and systems, it's really all about seeing the world from the sky and going where you want to go. That said, the actual flight and physics of the game felt incredibly realistic. There is plenty to wrap your head around when it comes to the controls, whether you're flying one of the more basic planes or the more advanced. While we would have loved to get on this game with a flight stick, we had to settle for the Xbox One controller. It did seem like the better alternative than the keyboard and mouse, but every person will have their own preference. Coming to terms with the controls and Microsoft Flight Simulator really becomes a sit back and enjoy the ride type of game. Kicking back at 20,000 feet and enjoying the view is all you really need from this game at times. The accuracy and authenticity of the world is already impressive, but it doesn't stop with how the Earth looks. Data is also being pulled in from the real world in terms of air traffic, time, and weather. You can fly in live, real-world conditions, or you can set the perfect flight conditions that you want. The skies will also be populated with other planes as well. These are comprised of real-world flights as well as other online players. Who and what you see depends on the settings that you choose at the start of your flight. This has been described as a one shared experience game, but you can do things like start your own shard on a server that allows you to play with custom rules with players that can be invited to your instance. Asobo Studios has covered just about every possible base they could with Microsoft Flight Simulator. It clearly isn't trying to be something that it's not. It's a rare case where Microsoft has targeted a dedicated fan base with laser focus, giving them just about every possible thing they've ever asked for, bringing the genre into a modern era where technology delivers an incredibly accurate simulation that is mostly derived from real-world, real-time data. It's hard not to come away impressed by this game. Microsoft Flight Simulator is an absolute must for flight sim fans, but anyone with even the slightest bit of an explorer's nature should definitely enjoy this one as well.